What's going on, everybody? My name's Chris. Welcome back to Bourbinsane. Today we have got a battle of the budget bottled and bond bourbons. My lord, it took about 8 takes for me to say that right. We're going to be putting these two head to head, and these are a couple of my favorite bonded bourbons, honestly. First off, we got the Old Granddad Bonded, 100 proof, coming out of Jim Beam Distillery. Always a solid bourbon. You know, always solid, low price, and I use it in both cocktails and straight, both. Holds up very well in a cocktail, given that proof. And it doesn't even taste young. You know, only 4 years, but doesn't taste young. The other one is the Jack Daniel's Bonded. Now, believe it or not, I only got this bottle probably about 6 months ago, for the first time I ever had it, actually. Maybe my second or third bottle now of this, but not as experienced as I am with the Old Granddad on this one. So, obviously, the Jack Daniel's is going to be a Tennessee whiskey, you know, so they use the Lincoln County process for their whiskey or bourbon versus Old Granddad and Jim Beam. So, there's going to be differences for sure in these, but they do both have similar specs. You know, 100 proof, at least 4 years bonded warehouse. I am going to blind these, but just, you know, shuffle them up after I take them off. I've got the Glen marked already. So just, not that I shouldn't be able to pick out what these are, but just for my own, you know, palate, I want to keep it as blind as I can. I mean, I should be able, like I said, I should be able to tell which one I'm drinking anyway, just because of my experience with both of these. But either way, I just want to talk more about the nose, palate, that kind of stuff, and go into the actual specifics of the notes. So let me clear the table a little bit. I'll shuffle these up and we'll be right back. All right, I already have these shuffled. I'm going to just shuffle them again here. It's only 2 Glens. It's not like I got 6 out here that I'm shuffling. So, but either way, it'll be good enough for today's tasting. So let's go into the Glen on my right, and we'll start with color. Only 4 years for both of these, 100 proof. So shouldn't be able to tell too much of a difference in color, or really, you know, the proof part of it on the palate at least. So let's start with this. Very nice nose. Definitely got a subtle, I'll say, like Runts banana note on it. Which, if you guys know these distilleries, you'll know which one that is immediately. Definitely a little bit of maple sugar I'm getting to, or maple syrup, along with some brown sugar. You know, being only 4 years, it makes you worry about the age, you know. Is it going to give you a lot of alcohol burn? Is it going to smell youthful? Really doesn't, you know. Comes through nice. Good nose. Good nose. Solid bourbon whiskey notes here. Let's go into the palate on this one. Yep. That banana runts. And honestly, it becomes more of like a banana pudding or a banana dessert on the palate. And I get this quite often with multiple Jack Daniel products. It's very desserty. You know, a lot of those Jack Daniel barrel proof picks are very, very desserty. I mean, heavy baking spice notes. And definitely a brown sugar banana with caramel and vanilla. Almost like a vanilla ice cream or banana split. And that really does come through on the palate on this. Almost no graininess. A testament to what they're doing over there. For 4 years, you know, it's like I say, it's risky of being grainy, so. Yep, nose and palate hold true. Classic bourbon, you know, classic bourbon notes. If you have someone that likes those more desserty notes, this is going to be definitely a great option for you. Most definitely a very sweet bourbon, and easy to sip, easy to introduce to other people. So let's go to the other one here. Again, as mentioned, color very similar. Not going to spend much time on this, but light color. You know, the other one's actually probably a little bit darker, but let's go into this. Much more nuttiness. Almost zero nuttiness on the other sample here. This one is all roasted peanut, salted peanut. Actually, more alcohol burn on the nose too. You know, I could be mixing the alcohol burn with just like a rye spice, because it definitely has those peppery notes as well coming through, much more than the other one at least. Yeah, that's all dessert and sugar. Much more peppery, much more bold. I'll say bold nose. So if you're into more of that bold flavor profile, this is probably going to be the one you want. Man, that's good. That is good. That kind of alcohol burn I was describing, or potentially rye spice on the nose. Not as much on the palate. You know, very nice medium to long finish on it, honestly. But if it was that much rye I was getting on the nose, it's not really taking over the palate like I was expecting it to. It's still there, but it's more of like a, I'll say like a young Knob Creek. You know, maybe like a Knob Creek 9, but even more that kind of dusty nut note. Dusty nuts.
What did you say?
It's good. Very good. Can't go wrong with either of these, honestly. For my palate today, I am going to lean towards the sample on your right, my left. And we'll find out what it is, because I don't want to be wrong. But this is, you know, obviously something I'm very familiar with, and I like the flavor profile a little more. I tend to like that Jim Beam nuttiness, and just that kind of the dusty oak, dusty nut note. So for me, this is going to be the winner today. And yep, this is my marked Glen, which is the Old Granddad. So Old Granddad bonded, 100 as mentioned. This is a high rye mash bill typically, which is why I'll often use this in cocktails, or the OGD 114 in cocktails. Just because, you know, when I make a cocktail, I definitely want to taste the bourbon in my cocktail. I'm not someone who enjoys a bunch of sweetness, unless it's the whiskey itself. But the extra sugary sweetness, I'm not a big sugar guy. So, you know, for me, I prefer to actually taste the whiskey in the cocktail. This is going to be what I'll reach for often. Or the 114. Let me know, actually, down in the comments. I heard a rumor, or someone commented on one of my videos, that they heard the OGD 114 is going to be discontinued. Is that true? I mean, I know they had a older expression just drop of this, one of the old labels. But, you know, the 114's a staple. And if they're going to get rid of that, I'm going to have to start loading up now, because I have that nearly every day in something. You know what I mean? At some point or another. So let me know if you've heard that too, or if that's just a rumor going around the internet, because I'm curious to know now. But honestly, with both of these expressions, I think you can't go wrong either way. I personally am a big fan of Jack Daniel's Distillery in general, you know, being Brown-Forman, and their flavor profile works for me. These days, I tend to lean more towards the barrel proof, you know, picks, or the barrel proof rye, which is great. I do want to put out a video of my top 5 ryes you have to have on your bar. I just put out a video talking about the top 5 bourbons you need to have on your bar, and I got a really great response on that. I had probably 15, 20 people say, hey, where are all the ryes? You got to make a video about the ryes too. So I'm going to put that out for you as well. I don't know when, but that'll be coming at some point of my top 5 ryes and why. Also, one other thing I want to mention is, since we did a couple bonded bourbons today, if you're still here at this part of the video, we are going to be doing a Battle of the Bourbons, and my plan for Battle of the Bourbons is bonded, or bottled and bond expressions. Back a few years ago, I did do a Battle of the Bourbons multiple. I did barrel proof Battle of the Bourbons and I think it was single barrel Battle of the Bourbons, and that was so fun, man. Multiple series, we do it March Madness format, you know, and I loved making those videos. They're all blind tastings, usually 4 per round. We move 2 whiskeys from each round forward, and then eventually we find out what the best bottled and bond, in this case, bourbon will be. So I'm pumped for that. We could do rye too, but I think that'd have to be a separate thing, so I'm going to stick with bourbon, I think, for it. Haven't decided on the 16 whiskeys, or 32, depending on how many I end up going with. But I'll put on the screen here probably a rough guess of about what it's going to be, just so you have a little insight into it. So if you haven't already, please do leave me a comment down below. Which of these do you reach for? Or do you reach for neither? You know, what's your favorite bottled and bond expression on the market, whether it be for cocktails or just neat? You know, I want to hear your feedback. So I appreciate you being here with me today. Thanks for checking out this video. I'll catch you next week. Stay insane.